All right, so this presentation is on African women in archaeology and paleontology. Among the earliest work, we have Catherine Whitman. Now, Catherine Whitman Arthur questioning who is that girl, looking at the participation of women in African archaeology, but specifically looking at women who are European descendants. So what's going on is the participation of African women in African archaeology is still in need of research. It's a priority. For example, recently in a blog, Trailblazer, and also in a blog, Sapiens, under Wintergrund, the Sapien magazine has been noting a few African women as archaeologists. But what this paper is more interested, while that is still important, and that's something I am interested along with my colleagues, what this paper is more interested on East African women who are not archaeologists or paleontologists, their experience in archaeology and paleontology. Here we have on the right a picture of Maasai women in Olduvai Gorge. So this research is started as a part of my dissertation research, but in a collaborative with Dr. Kokeo Riano from University of Dodoma in Tanzania, who is also Maasai, and with Ms. Naserian Ndanguya, she's also a Maasai. And so this was a collaborative research as part of my dissertation in decolonizing archaeology in East African University. Specifically, this section was to examine the experience of local communities in archaeology and paleontology, in this case, Maasai people in Olduvai Gorge in northern Tanzania, including the Olduvai Museum. So the objective here is to see how Maasai women are involved in research activities as well as in the museum. This research took place in 2011, in 2012, and in August 2017. The research is throughout sponsored by Wintergrund, and 2011-12 were part of the research. 2017 was as part of community engagement. We used this through our own observation and participation in field schools, as well as interviews through questionnaires. We interviewed 59 men and women from the Maasai community. So Olduvai Gorge in northern Tanzania is home to Maasai people now and previously to a number of other ethnic groups. It's named after the plant sisal, white sisal found in Olduvai. In the Maasai language, it's called Olduvai, the plant. Olduvai Gorge is rich in paleontological and archaeological sites. This is, you can see, a landscape picture of Olduvai and the map of Olduvai within Tanzania, where it's located, as well as the plant that's named after it. Olduvai Gorge is also famous for hominin discoveries, including other fossil remains, but specifically Paranthropus boisei. It's designated as a World Heritage Site in 1979 for natural and in 2000 for the cultural. Like I said earlier, the Olduvai Museum, it has an old site museum, which started since 1965, 1968, but formally as a museum established in the 1970s. Now, the museum was established through support from National Geographic Society, and later expanded through the government of Tanzania, the Department of Antiquity, which was at that time the one under administration, the museum, and the Getty Conservation Institute. This is the Olduvai Museum. The museum now has renovated. It has completely different look, but what we present here is what took place until 2017. Because just as we left, after the community engagement project, the museum was under renovation and they were changing some arrangements. So a lot of the data is presented here only relevant until that time. And because of COVID, we haven't gone to the research place to see how things changed. So the museum exhibits materials recovered from Old Pike Gorge and also from Laetoli, another important footprint site. And the exhibitions are done in English and Swahili, which is the national language, and Swahili is the national language in Tanzania. The museum, this is just to put things in context. The museum has a gift shop, which is private. Private is owned by the museum staff members. Now, when we look at the involvement of women at Old Pike Gorge within the profession, Old Pike Gorge has been welcoming women in archaeology and paleontology as early as mid-1930s. However, Tanzanian students and professionals didn't come into place, non-Maasai, until late 2000s. And just recently, according to the Blazer website, the Trailblazer website, we see Dr. Agnes being as a project director. So the process has been very slow, even for the professionals. And Maasai communities being started involved in archaeological research activities in 1994. Only men. Women were not involved until 2010. So what the result tells us here is that we want to know how the community think. When we think of what do they think of the archaeological activities, they think they're very distant, that this is for, they take it, this is for wealth, just commonly what we see in anywhere else between communities and archaeological sites relationship. The other question we raised is, what's a museum? And the community's response is, they pronounce a museum as museum, is defined for what it keeps and its relationship to the community. So it's as a house of bones, it's a house of all human beings, ancestors found, and this is large number, 51% of our participants, of the 59 participants respond to that. It's a house of all the pie stones, or a place working for white people, or a place, Wazungu, which is white people visit, or a place for selling Maasai beadworks. This is because of the workshop, the gift shop, and it's a place that's benefiting others. And to some respondents, particularly women, it's a place where our enemies are. Now, to see how the community view the museum as for others, it does make sense in a way, because when you look at the data, and this is only for 2 years, but compared to in 1965, where there were about 3,000 visitors, almost all foreigners, you can see here, for example, the 2009-2010 annual report from the museum and partial quarter report of the 2011, that almost a large part is, higher number is foreigners, like 53,000, and 4,000 only Tanzanians. And the foreigners almost really outside of the continent most of the time, but we didn't have that break data. But, and then in terms of museum involvement of the community in administration, unlike the archaeological project, the museum involved the community, just men, few of them, 2 or 3, as staff members, as assistant conservators. The museum had 6 permanent staff members, 5 casual laborers, 4 volunteers, and 3 working at the gift shop. But when you look, only 1, let's say assistant conservators from 1970s until the 2000s, only 1 at a time, not like a group. So usually the one who are working are from outside, from other parts of the country. And if they're involved, they will, the Maasai, if they're involved at the lower, more of at the casual, which is as night guards or as cleaners, but only men. So community involvement, like said in Old White Court, Maasai men and women start participating in archaeological and paleontological research activities in 1994 and in 2010, respectively. A few Maasai men have been working in Old White Museum as early as 1971. On the other hand, until 2017, where this research stopped, women were not involved in the museum. There are some changes after 2017, and women start participating, not in the administration, but in a cultural center where they can sell some beadworks to tourists. So the community relates to the museum based on how they have been treated, how the museum has been publicizing itself. So individually or collectively, the community was not involved. So 90% of the participants believe that the community is not involved or was not involved. The museum is run by the government. There are some administrative change. The museum from the Antiquities Department to the Ngorongoro Conservation Area. A few could visit anytime they want, even during the work hours, but most of them reported that if there are tourists around, they're not allowed to visit. They're considered as disturbance to the tourist. So looking at in terms of empowerment, does the community benefit from the museum? The community wants a partnership approach between them and the museum. But so far, they say we are not really enjoying it. Again, there are some changes after 2017, but throughout the years, they have not been benefiting, except indirectly, for example, when archaeologists or researchers give a talk once a year, celebration for the discovery of the Zinjanthropus, or sometimes use of the museum for emergency needs, like medical emergency. And like I stated, a few employed as casual laborers. Men do get a chance to sell meat to tourists, but women could not at that time, before they established the cultural center to sell. Now, before 2017, women could not approach the museum to sell their beadwork if the tourists are around. So the museum, they see 80% as having challenge from the museum. Women say we are chased like dogs when we go to sell our beads. So local people are seen as disturbance to the tourists, and the community believe that there is a challenge because tourists are causing environmental pollution. And they also believe there is poor and delayed remuneration for the local people working as casual laborers. So the local people of Old White area believe that they are isolated for the lack of education. They believe that it's because they're not educated, that's why they're isolated. So what they demand and suggest is it's important for them to have access to education and healthcare and water. In this, they believe archaeological and paleontological research activities in the museum should contribute to this importance for the community. And they want direct involvement in the museum as employment and as someone they can make part of the museum administration. And they want have a share in the income, as well as want to have awareness in museum activities. They also want the museum employees to be educated about in respect towards the Maasai values, norms, and views. This is something they suggest prior to 2017, maybe establishment of a cultural museum. But like I stated, post 2017, the renovated museum allowed them to have a space where they can sell some beadworks. So the approach final thought they have is for the change they suggested to come. The local people strongly advise the museum and the community should have a good neighborhood approach. And for them, in a neighborhood approach, there should be unity, cooperation, involvement, empowerment, mutual respect, and benefits, as well as equality, among other things. And despite the lack involvement we presented in 2017,
so
it's
we have to finish in 30 seconds.
Oh, it's done. Despite that, we presented the change since 2017, and even the community engagement project, the museum has been involved and expressed their interest to engage with the community. So we would like to acknowledge the site community, the research grant for One Foundation, and the permits from the Tanzanian government. Thank you.